Good morning. How's it going out there, folks? Good afternoon, depending on where you're at out here on this fine Saturday. Made it here to the weekend. May 24th, 2025 is the date, 11:15 a.m. local time, California time, that is. Latest activity here shows a 3.1 earthquake hiding out here in the green flag. Looks like around the Indonesia area, Java Trench region, one of the latest quakes there on the globe. Also, notice a decent swarm of earthquake activity north into Iceland. That's a big one. Lots of earthquake activity occurring here in the last few hours. This shows the last 6 hours of earthquake activity. Got 288 earthquakes out here. The largest magnitude appears to be a 5.0. I was going to say 5.9, but it's 5.09. That is off of the Svartsengi area across the rift boundary. Of course, Iceland's been quite active out here in the past couple years. And there's not a whole lot stirring up here across the Grindavik area, the Blue Lagoon, the power plant region. This is all offshore, but the majority of the times when everything stirs up like this, we'll see an increase in potential volcanic activity here across the area north and northeast here along that rift boundary. That's a considerable amount of earthquake activity for sure. Let me see what we got in the last 12 hours. That raises it up a little bit there, about 323. So the majority of these quakes there within the last 6 hours. Either way, that's a dandy of an earthquake swarm. Looks like some movement stirring up south as well. I see a 4.8 a little bit further down the line. So we got some big time movement happening out here across Iceland. And, of course, you have major volcanic activity there across those rift boundaries. We'll definitely watch that. I was looking at the GPS stations here, vertical displacement there across the Svartsengi. And since our last small eruption and magma migration there back in March, we've been going up and up and up. Nowhere near the level previously seen leading up to the eruption, but this earthquake activity we're witnessing right now could stir things up further in that department up there as far as maybe some volcanic activity. USGS not showing a 5-pointer, just a 4-pointer, and some other earthquake activity further up north. Now on the earthquake map here from the Iceland site, they're showing the activity further down south here across this rift boundary. So take your pick, whichever one. Either way, there's a decent swarm of earthquakes up there across Iceland. No new article there from the Icelandic Met Office in terms of the recent uptick. It's possible they may put out an update a little bit later on today with this elevated earthquake activity. All right, California starting to light up out here from north to south. West Coast on the move out here today, it looks like. The latest quake up here across Northern California, 2.7. Very shallow. We've been getting a lot of shallow earthquakes out here just off of the plate boundary. That is a strain quake out here, indicative of the pressure that's building up here across the southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone. Now, of course, this area of Northern California has seen a lot of tremor activity underneath it. That's associated, of course, with the Cascadia. This is yesterday's event. 517 epicenters of tremor down there underneath Northern California, about 45 kilometers deep or so. So as we're seeing that tremor activity, it's a key indicator there of the two plates, the subducting plate and the overlaying plate here, the North American plate. It's a sign that they're slowly moving past each other. And when that happens there, that builds up further strain and earthquake potential upstream. This is just from yesterday here. If you look at the last month, majority of this activity stirred up here in the last couple weeks. But we've got almost 10,000 epicenters of tremor along the Cascadia subduction zone, starting to fill in quite nicely out there. And it's above our previous level of a similar event back in 2024, just before that big earthquake there in Northern California. We had a decent amount of tremor. So we'll watch that. I do believe firmly that the elevated tremor activity is a time to watch, maybe for some larger activity across the Cascadia or anywhere across the Pacific Northwest and Northern California, just due to the dynamics here of the subduction zone and the incredible amount of tremor activity we're seeing here in the last couple weeks. Again, that crustal quake out there, very shallow, right at the oceanic crust level there, -0.2. Some movement on the San Andreas Fault south here as well. That's going to be on the creeping section of the San Andreas Fault, 2.5 Pinnacles area, just within the last 15-20 minutes or so. A little bit of swarming going on there today. Started off about 2 o'clock this morning with a 2.5 and ending so far with a 2.5. So everything is on the move out here across the California region. Everywhere except the Bay region. Also, we got one more earthquake filling in here across Dunnigan, or west of Dunnigan. Yesterday had a 3.1. Now we got a 2.5. These inland fault systems, there's a fault out here across the west side of the Sacramento Valley called the Great Valley Thrust Fault. And that's an old, kind of an ancient fault system out here. And it accumulates slip rate very slowly. I can't remember exactly what the strain is, but it's way slow. It takes thousands of years to have a big earthquake out here. And it's probably been that amount of time at least. And that is starting to show some earthquake activity here. And that's all because of the strain out here between the two plates, the Pacific and the North American plate, starting to hit these inland fault systems here. Watch that closely here. This is a Dunnigan Hills fault, but I don't believe it's associated with that. There's a fault that leads up here called the Great Valley Thrust Fault. And that's got some further activity on it here just as we speak. Crazy. Further down south, there's a crustal. Well, this is actually somewhat deep underneath the area, surprisingly. A 12-mile deep, 2.8. I never did check this. Okay, this is still underneath automatic status review. So I forgot to check that last night, but this could be a false earthquake because nobody's reviewed it. It hasn't been verified yet. So that depth there and that magnitude is a little odd to see out there across the center portion of the San Joaquin Valley, but we'll see if the USGS doesn't pick up on that here. Maybe. I mean, that's from yesterday. Maybe Monday morning when they look into that and revise it. Ridgecrest area quite active here as well. They even got an earthquake above the 2.5 level. That's from yesterday, a little 2.6. Southern California down here, a little bit of movement off the Huntington Beach area. Same area as yesterday. Nothing big going on here across the southern area of the state. But, you have to notice the uptick in magnitude 2.5 and above here in the last 12 hours or so. There's another 2.6 right on the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault from this morning. So things are, the entire region out here is on the move. And that's a sign that we could see some larger earthquake activity out here at any given time. When things are on the move, that's when you got to be on guard. A lot of people say, well, when it's quiet, that's when you need to be on guard. Well, there's so many areas out here that are stuck in terms of the accumulated strain and stress. And earthquake movement and plate adjustment is a time there that things could get unstuck. And that includes the San Andreas Fault, the Hayward Fault up here. That is eerily quiet, yes. But I look at on the grand scale of things out here, when the entire plate boundary out here is on the move, that's when we need to be on guard. And yes, we need to watch the quiet zones out here, and that's San Francisco specifically. What do we got going on here? Another one? Within a couple minutes of each other here. See, that is crazy. Let me pull this up here real quick. I don't have any bookmarks, but I do want to show you guys some information on it. The Great Valley Thrust Fault here. Let's see if let me go over here to images real quick. Let's see if they're going to show it. There's a specific website I used for it, and I don't remember it exactly. So I was just kind of looking on here, seeing if I could find that Great Valley Thrust Fault map. I may have to provide it a little bit later on this evening in tonight's update. But it's, like I say, it's an older fault system out there. Yeah, I'm not seeing it out here. So I will get back to you on that and show you guys that thrust fault that sits out here. Either way, that is active, man. We don't see activity like that out here across that area. And that thrust fault system on the west side of the valley is capable of producing some big earthquakes. It's a very lengthy thrust fault, but it's also got a very slow slip rate. Thousands of years have to happen in order to get enough strain to build up some earthquake activity, and it looks like that may be happening right now. As far as these potential, could be foreshocks. A satellite view out here shows just north of the Dunnigan Hills fault system, so I don't believe it's associated with that area down south here, but more so of the Great Valley Thrust Fault that sits out here just prior to the foothills. A lot of farmland, a lot of orchards out here, a lot of almond trees and whatnot. I drive down this area. This is Dunnigan, northwest of Dunnigan area here. So we'll just continue to watch this area. That's rather interesting to see that much earthquake activity there off of the plate boundary in an area that we really haven't seen a lot of earthquake activity out here. But again, the fault system is there. Let me oh, okay, maybe I can get it on this one here. Let's see if I can pull it up here. Do not show the splash screen again. Thank you. Yeah, see these guys. This one's down here. This is the southern end of it. The Great Valley Thrust Fault System. They have it down here south. But there's also the ones up here north. So there's the Dunnigan Hills Fault. Well, that's part of the Great Valley Thrust Fault. There's a couple different segments here. Look at the slip rate between 1 and 5 mm per year. That is super slow buildup. There's the Great Valley Thrust Fault. It's called the Mysterious Ridge. Between 1 and 5 mm per year. Here's the northern segment of it. Less than, look at that, less than 0.2 mm. So, but again, this is a thrust fault. And it does take thousands of years. Who knows, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8,000 years to build up enough strain here. But as far as I know, there's no historical documented large earthquake activity on that thrust fault. And now, like I say, now we're starting to get some signs out here of it maybe waking up. But we'll watch that. This is just outside of my area. I live just south of Chico up here in Northern California, and that's if this thing can produce a mid-7 or so, from I remember reading up on it a couple years past here, and I just completely forgot about it because it's been, it's not really active. But now it's starting to pop up here, folks. Get a little bit more active out here, and it's just not that area. It's the entirety out here across the West Coast that's moving today. So got to watch it. Got to be on guard. Look at San Francisco. Absolutely, completely quiet. That is not a good sign. Now, if the entire West Coast out here was quiet, it's a little bit different. Things tend to mellow out after that. It's weird how it works. Locally here, if you look at the big picture, we got movement all over the place except for San Francisco. That could obviously be an area to watch quite closely because there's nothing going on. But when we have large-scale movement out here across the entire plate boundary, yes, that is when quiet zones need to be watched quite closely, or maybe even some areas that have been quiet for thousands and thousands of years, and now they're starting to wake up, like that Great Valley Thrust Fault. That's a little scary there. The hazard map out here is more specifically designed for the big earthquakes on the plate boundaries up here. And that's why this area is kind of in the orange or so, because of the shaking that would be felt out here across the western areas of California. But it's these older ancient faults been building up strain here for thousands of years, and looks like that one may be starting to wake up. All right, looking at further down south, I noted that earthquake here on the San Andreas Fault this morning at 2.6. That is on the southern branch right there of the San Andreas Fault again. Goodness. All right. Utah, a little bit of movement well south of the Salt Lake City area, 3.1 this morning. Got a lot of activity stirring up here across the West Coast. Nothing going on there across Yellowstone. but I do want to double check that here. Let's take a look. Now there's one localized earthquake, maybe one or two, showing up nicely here across the Maple Creek area. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5, 6, a couple, yeah, there's a handful. Nothing big, but there is a handful of earthquakes up there at Yellowstone. Nothing showing up here on the map because the computer system for the USGS is normally set for a magnitude 2.5 and above. So anything that happens below that magnitude will not show up here on the earthquake catalog book and will not be reported until a seismologist there gets in Monday morning. Well, in this case, it's going to be Tuesday morning because of the holiday. So yeah, again, got to have 2.5 and above to pick up that on the map there for the USGS, or for Yellowstone, I mean. Everywhere else here, for the most part, they'll show some of the smaller quakes. Southern California, they show pretty much all the microquakes as well. Texas, oil fields getting hit. Oklahoma as well. There's that one oddball earthquake out in the Gulf. Nothing new to report out there for now. Taking a look at the broader scale of things, let's see what we got here for the largest magnitude overnight. Overnight's going to be a 5.1, 5.2 there in the Philippines from yesterday, but a little bit of movement happening further south here where that 7-pointer struck a number of weeks back. Still seeing some aftershock activity, or in general, this is still, just earthquake activity. Could see something bigger down there. It's been fairly consistent with movement today and over the last couple weeks. Let's see if New Zealand's moved. They've gone quiet here today, it looks like. After a bunch of movement here yesterday across Australia and down south, New Zealand had a 3-pointer there, but looks like it's kind of backed off there. Just taking a break. It comes in cycles here across the area. We'll see an uptick in regions here as far as earthquake activity, and then it will just transfer across various areas of the globe with really, there's not any specific pattern that you can follow, but you can look at areas of interest like we've seen yesterday where that 6-pointer struck south of Australia, and then literally a minute or 3 minutes later, we had some inland intraplate fault systems here get active with that 5.3, where there hasn't been any earthquake activity in quite a while. So that strain immediately transferred up north here into the center portion there of the Australia plate. I mean, that happens a lot. Look at the general arrow of the pressures here, the pressure arrows, right? When the earthquake activity happens down here, they normally move northward, and that was right on cue yesterday. 3 minutes following the 6-pointer activity up north. Little bit of activity stirring up here across that plate boundary today. Nothing big. Looks like 4.6, 4.9 up here off the plate boundary prior to the Mariana Islands. Japan, pretty quiet. The rest of the globe there, is noted. Keep an eye on Iceland. It's stirring up quite nicely out there. Alaska, some older movement there from yesterday. I was just looking at Hawaii as well. No eruption yet. Don't know what's going on, but we should have seen an eruption by now across that area of the Kilauea volcano. Nothing. Still got quite a bit of volcanic gases. There was some small little spattering going on earlier last night, but looks like we're still going up here in terms of inflation. Here's the week. Easier to see on the past month. That way we can get a look at previous eruption cycles, the last one ending back on the 16th or so of this month. We've been going up, but we've kind of leveled out here and really haven't pushed through, I guess, to the level of a breaking point for an eruption. So it'll be interesting to watch here, see if this continues for a little bit. When it is stationary like that or leveling out, that's a sign here that there may be some type of preventative eruption measures going on down below, like as far as maybe a blockage going on. But it's still too early to call at this point. I mean, if it goes on another day or two like that, then I'm thinking something else may go on here outside of the normal cycles that we've been seeing since December. Just been a rinse and repeat there. I mean, it's something I haven't seen in quite a while, but who knows? We'll watch that throughout the day today there across Kilauea Volcano. As far as space weather activity goes, it looks like a little bit of uptick here overnight with some sea flare activity. I'm thinking that's coming off of this sunspot down here. Now, let's see what we got here for some complexity models of the magnetogram image of the sun. It shows the polarities there. This, you know what? It may be this area. There's some intermixing here of the colors indicating some growth within that sunspot region. That is starting to grow, it looks like. Not so much this one. That one's got a clear cut area between its core, so more than likely that's going to be the culprit. But that is well, it's going to be out on the western limb here in a couple days, no longer visible. Let's see what we got. No major auroras in the forecast. Solar flare threat still remains minimal for now. We'll keep an eye there on sunspot. It's going to be 4080 or 4090. Looks like that's going to be 4090 right here, and that's got a, well, it shows an alpha structure there, but where is it at? 4090 right here, an alpha structure, but it's grown. See, this image was taken a number of days ago, but it's definitely advanced a little bit here, even since overnight. 4090, I believe that's 4090. Maybe it's 4098. Yeah, it looks like it may be 4098 up here. Here's 4090, so it is 4098, and that's got, let's take a look again. 4098 has, it says beta on here. It's growing, though. You can tell the image here from last night, not as complex, but today a little bit more intermixing, deeper, darker colors there across the area. So we'll watch that one. Let's see what else we got here. Any close approach asteroids going on here from the NASA website? A couple big ones coming up. That's a giant one. That's over 4 million miles away, though. May 24th today, newly discovered 20-foot bus-size asteroid. That's safe in itself, though. 314,000 miles away, and that's well beyond the Earth-Moon distance. As far as average goes, it fluctuates. All right, Storm Prediction Center for severe weather. This is just going to be the case here over the next couple days into early next week. With severe weather threats across southern plains entering into the south as well. It's just aimed directly at Oklahoma, like they need more rain out there, right? Well, it's going to be nice and green all summer long out there for sure. Yeah, severe weather threats today. There's a little tornado risk down there across the area outside of OKC region. 10% zone, 5 and 2% as well. Got some wind and some big time hail threats out there as well, so just stay weather aware if you're out there across this area of the country today. Far as the live seismograph stations go, one little earthquake in Petrolia, that's Northern California. So let's go see what we got going on here. I don't believe it's going to be this one. This is from about 40 minutes ago or so, but it's a smaller one. Either way, keep an eye here on the west coast. The signs are starting to show out here, getting a lot of activity inland. You know, if you think about it, it's right off the plate boundary, east of all these coast range fault systems, and it's hitting a very slow accumulated slip rate thrust fault that sits out there on the west side of the valley. That it's an older system, and it takes, it does take thousands of years. I'll have to look up this for sure, see what the maximum magnitude is out here, but I remember reading that it could be a 7.5 out here across that thrust fault. It actually extends all the way down into the San Joaquin Valley as well. I don't think it all ruptures at once. I think it comes in portions, but this area down here has had a little bit of activity, if I remember, on that southern end of the Great Valley thrust fault. But this is all new. Looks like maybe 2 earthquakes there from the 2nd and the 6th. So that's actually a lot of activity there on the fault system that has been awfully quiet. So keep an eye on that. Just northwest of Sacramento, and too close for comfort here for me. That's Something like that, of that magnitude, 7.5, would be more damaging to me locally than the 7.5 over here across San Francisco due to proximity. So, yeah, I'm going to watch that closely there. Have a good day, folks. It's supposed to be about 95 degrees here outside of Chico. Nice and toasty. This time next week, we're supposed to be around 110. Yes, you heard that right. 110. That's the air temperature out here. But it's a dry heat? Not necessarily. We got rice fields galore, so it kind of like its own little mini environment here with humidity and heat. So it's miserable. All right, I'm out of here. Enjoy your weekend. We'll continue to watch things out here. If anything changes, of course, we'll provide some updates. Make sure you guys subscribe, like, and share. West Coast is on the move out here. We'll catch you guys soon.